Hi, I'm Mike Shea from Flourish. Today we're going to talk about one of the most useful tools to help DMs improvise during their game, and that's a list of names. In a Twitter poll talking about the most useful tools to help you improvise your game, this came up over and over again. Many DMs cite that having a good list of names on hand is one of the most valuable tools to improvise during your game. Names are hard. They're hard to come up with, they're hard to remember, they're hard to come up with on the fly, especially when you're running your game. We run a lot of different NPCs during our game, and many times we have throwaway NPCs, the bartender at a bar or somebody walking down the street, and many times we'll have to come up with a name for them. And while it's usually pretty easy to come up with the rest of the characteristics for an NPC, coming up with a name is really hard. But if we have a list of names on hand, one that we know and can use easily and quickly, it's not so hard to come up with one of those names. Luckily for us, there are a lot of really good sources for names. The Player's Handbook actually has names for all of the different races, and we can use them just as easily as the players can. Xanathar's Guide to Everything has a huge list of names as well. If we're using Xanathar's Guide at our table, we can actually bookmark the names section and keep it on hand and pull it up whenever we need during our game. There are a whole lot of websites that also have random names. Fantasy Name Generator is one that many DMs use. I'm a huge fan of the website Donjon, which has a ton of different random elements, including random names and random NPCs. You'll be able to find links to all of those websites down below. I have two tricks when it comes to using names during our D&D game. First, keep the list short. You don't need a whole lot of names. A couple dozen will do at the most. You print out a few names, find ones you like, keep them on hand, write them down on a 3x5 card, maybe print out a single sheet of paper. What you don't need are 10,000 names for every single game session. Just a few will do. You could probably get away with a dozen names for any given session, pick the names you like, and throw away the rest. If you have too many names, it becomes too hard to sift through them all to find the one name you actually want. So just keep a few on hand that you actually need during the game. Second, write the name down. The minute we take a name and we assign it to an NPC, we've plucked it out of the ether and turned it into something real. As soon as an NPC has a name, that NPC is real as far as the characters are concerned. We can't just forget it as easily as we pull it up. Write the name down, put it in your session notes, and make that NPC somebody solid. Now that NPC is somebody that could be around forever. We really have no idea if one of our throwaway NPCs is going to become somebody important, or if that NPC is going to come back later. So write the name down. As lazy dungeon masters, one of our goals is to find the tools to help us improvise easily during the game. We have no idea where the story of our game is going to go at any given point. We can't write down everything that's going to happen and expect to follow any particular line. The tools that help us move and shift as the story shifts at the table, those are the ones we're going to find most useful. A good list of names is exactly the kind of tool we want to be able to move and shift as the story changes. Find a good list of names, keep that list on hand during your game, and write them down whenever they become real. If you like this video, please consider becoming a patron of Flourish at patreon.com/SlyFlourish or pick up Return to the Lazy Dungeon Master, a book of tips and tricks to help DMs get the most from their game prep when prepping for D&D. Thank you very much.